The Dating Show, brought to you by olderdatingonline.com.
Debbie, can I tell you a story?
Oh, please do.
Just between me and you.
Okay.
Right, keep this one to yourself. I went out with a girl once and went out for about 3 months.
Okay.
And in those 3 months, we had 3 accidents, 3 car crashes. And one of them, she was going to put her foot on the brake, but she didn't. She put it on the accelerator and bang, straight into the back of somebody. I had to get out and sort it out. And she was the worst driver I have ever been in. She made me so nervous. And she, you know, when you can see things coming at you and you know, you're like, oh, hey, they're coming out, and this and that. And she was actually attracting crashes as she was going along the road. Wow. She was just that bad a driver. And of course, the relationship, it slightly put me off her.
Yes.
And we finished. And I put it down to this day to her driving. Everything else about her was spot on.
Okay, cool.
But her driving was terrible, and it stressed me out so much, I had to get rid of her. So this begs the question that I think, and our producers have come up with this idea as well, that, you know, your driving style can make you more or less attractive to a potential partner. Would you agree?
I would, actually. I think if I was in a car with somebody like you've just described, I'd be nervous about other areas of life as well. I mean, maybe, you know, in the bedroom it might be a little bit wild, a little bit haphazard, a little bit scary maybe. But if I was with a man...
Bit too fast?
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Bit too slow? Fumbling around?
Yeah, if I was with somebody though and they were aggressively driving, that would put me off them, I think.
Yeah. So do you look at a man and think, you know, look at his driving style and think, well, you know, he's not going to be very, very good in bed because of this?
Do you know, I haven't actually equated the two before.
Well, you did earlier, a couple of seconds ago.
Yes, I did. It's just how we were, you know, talking there that kind of brought that to mind.
Right.
But definitely aggression in driving I don't like to see.
OK, well, let's hear from one of the bravest men on the planet, a chap called Al, who's a driving instructor, and see what he makes of it, because obviously he meets a lot of people and does somebody's driving skills sort of replicate their personality. Let's see what he thinks, and here we go.
The Dating Show, brought to you by olderdatingonline.com.
Thanks very much for coming on The Dating Show. As a driving instructor, I presume you've got probably quite a strong constitution. Is that fair to say?
Well, I'm very patient and caring, shall we say.
OK, fine. And, I mean, did you pass your driving test first time, or did you take a few goes?
Personally, yeah, I passed all my tests, including my instructor test first time, yeah.
So you get to meet lots of people out and about. So, I mean, in your experience, does driving sort of mirror somebody's character, would you say? Can you assess somebody by their driving skills?
Well, I always use the phrase, very often with the pupils themselves, that we are the way we drive. And this comes over in lots of ways, from exhibiting a lack of confidence, for example, to being overconfident, and from being able to quickly evaluate what's going on and make good decisions. So people all vary. So just letting others do what they want and just put up, there are some that just let others do what they want and then get abused on the road, if you know what I mean. Taken advantage of, and obviously I wouldn't want to say that has any links to dating, but their personal way of being is very often reflected in the way that they actually perform on the road.
So somebody who's a fast driver, would you sort of say generally they're probably sort of quite a sort of fast person and fast-moving person in other aspects?
Again, just sort of going on from what I said in the last bit, far be it from me to judge people's romantic characteristics. It's certainly true that if you're driven to succeed and to get your own way, then this will show in driving, I find. Quite often I find myself pulling back overconfident people, and it can show in terms of selfishness, arrogance, impatience, shall we say, and not being prepared to suffer fools gladly. So road rage comes from quite deep, I think, inside our psychological makeup. So certainly wouldn't be surprised if this tendency on the road were to reflect in the way that people are. For example, powerful engines tend to create an aggressive style.
You know, obviously to pass a driving test, you need to pass certain sort of skill elements like, you know, parallel parking, emergency stops, you know, reversing around a corner. Somebody who's good at those elements, would you say that that sort of demonstrates something as well about their character?
Yeah, I think it probably does. Cautiousness, especially in those early stages, I find is more about a fear of injury than anything else. But it can also be down to a fear of being criticised for doing wrong. Perfectionists, for example, can be their own worst enemy, as they can be very hard on themselves and unable to accept lower standards in themselves and in others. So, yeah, I've seen that kind of reflected, and I could project that back into the way people are in life.
Have you sort of have you had any sort of scary moments as a driving instructor yourself, sort of on the road? Do you have dual pedals and that sort of stuff?
Oh yeah, well every instructor, if they've got anything like a brain, is going to have dual controls. We're not required to have them, but yeah, you've got to make sure that you keep yourself safe. And so the scary moments are really, they're there, but usually I'm in enough control to be able to keep ourselves safe. Never had an accident. And I'm not superstitious, so I don't mind saying that.
That was Al, who's one of the bravest men on the planet, a driving instructor. Some good points there. Sounds
really nice person. And yes, I love that phrase, we are the way we drive.
Yeah.
And that's so cool.
I imagine, I've never been in a car with you, but I imagine you're quite slow, quite careful. Probably drive an automatic.
No.
Don't you?
No. Okay. I drive a manual. I used to have an automatic, but I found them too boring, Rod. I think I can be fairly cautious, fairly careful, but I can also pull out a few surprises. I'm not totally predictable.
I bet you're very good at reversing around a corner.
Actually, I am. I am.
The Dating Show, brought to you by olderdatingonline.com.